Welcome to the Mental Craftsman, where we build stronger minds and share the lessons we've learned through what we've lived.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here this morning. Friday the 13th, can you believe that? It's Friday the 13th of March. There's a lot of big days in March. I have a lot of family birthdays this month, including my own, which was earlier in the month. Want to welcome everybody here. A little bit tired this morning. We've been working really hard in the business. And today we can just start off with a little bit of asking ourselves a little something is, if you can make any one little change today to help become more of your authentic self, what would that change be? What would that be? What little thing that can we do? So in week 8, we're talking about our habits and our systems. And our habits and systems, these are routines that we follow. And some of them were generated intentionally, and some of them are on autopilot. And what we want to do is journal about that. You know, if anything would be the main topic of week 8, about habits. Good morning, Farm Girl. Good morning, Brian. About habits and routines. If anything would really fit in with that, this is where it would be time to journal. Because as we get into next week, which is going to be really important for this week, because next week we're going to be talking about distractions. So this week we're talking about habits, systems, and routines, structures that support who that we want to come, finding our Goldilocks zone, what's too much or too little of what we need in our lives. This just really tops things off for us of where we are from week 1 to week 7. So in a way, this whole series makes a lot of sense, because one of the questions you're going to ask yourself as we're today, especially, is we're trying to get kind of for ourselves, like in a little analogy, kind of a plug and play attitude in life. What little things can you do today that would make a difference into who you want to become? Little things. Good morning, Alicia. Glad you're here this morning, and everybody who's in here. And I'm super glad you haven't missed anything. We're talking about week 8 of 12 weeks. Man, we're almost there. One of the things that when we're journaling today, that's going to be important, is you want to have and build a clear system that helps you with new routines that moves you toward where you want to be. When you think about, I wish my life was this way. Well, it can be, because you're the one that can create that. So if you're a kind of person that follows through on what matters, because a lot of us, I think, are. If you want to follow through with something on what matters, then you would want to follow through with building routines that are going to help you identify who you are, help bring you more comfort and tranquility into your life. So it's going to be really something good to talk about. So here's a little clean version that we could journal with and talk about. I want to live in my own Goldilocks zone. Remember last week we were talking about the Goldilocks zone and how they even use it in science now, that Earth is what it is because it's a Goldilocks zone in comparison from what feeds the Earth, which we know is the sun, which brings in, power. Not too hot, not too cold. Of course, certain parts of it are, but it allows us to live and inhabit the Earth as humans. And the Earth's able to tolerate what it takes in. Mother Nature took it over from that. So with that idea in mind, and we're trying to look for a Goldilocks zone in our life, that would include a lot of things, right? It would be our rest, our time for ourselves. What actions can we implement in our life? Journaling time, alone time. Alone time is very important in life. For some people, socializing is, but alone time, when you're alone, you're just going through your thoughts and thinking about your thoughts. And this is where the act of journaling can come in. Remember on Tuesday, you can journal the one sentence on the way out the door that just says, stop, be grateful. Look forward to one thing today. These are little habits that we can change, and those are little reminders. But it's up to us at the end of the day to drive the course, to do what needs to be done. And that's why, like I was saying earlier, but I may not have finished it because I got a little sidetracked, is we get into week 9 next week. It's going to be important. It's going to be important to all of this and everything we talked about, because week 9 we're going to be talking about boundaries, people, and environments. And how boundaries, people, and environments fit into this is because people and environments, they create distractions. They're big distractors. People and environments are big distractors, and they're going to distract you from finding your Goldilocks zone. They're going to distract you from getting the peace you want. They're going to distract you from feeling good about yourself. And that's where we make our journey in our life by ourselves. And as we get into next week, we're going to talk about boundaries, because I know some people are going to be like, I tried this. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can journal. This happened to me, and so won't let me do this. Well, those are distractions and boundaries. I'm going to show you how to pound that out of your life next week into week 9. And when I say it works, believe me, it really works. It's easy as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but you have to have patience. You have to have patience for your purpose to come about in your life. And finding your purpose would be to be happy, write down the things that are important to you through our self-identity. As we've been going past these last couple of weeks, that brought us up into there for a little review this Friday of what we started to. We wanted to find out who we really are. We found out about autopilot on week 1, and then we went into who we really are on week 2, which is identity and self-awareness. And hopefully, if you follow this, these are little notes that you take, and it helps you out. Core values and what matters to us. So if you're journaling along with this course on core values, you're eventually going to be building every week slowly and patiently along with this course to build up what your core values are, your purpose and your vision, where you're going. And remember, where you're going isn't a huge, unattainable goal. Where you want to be isn't this big, massive goal that wears you out. Habits and systems and routines do not work on willpower or motivation or motivational speeches. They work because we intentionally change little things. And that's easy to do when it's little. And when we change a little bit of something at a time in our life, then our subconscious starts to expect that this is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to behave. And that is the autopilot that you want to be on. So where are you going on our purpose and vision on the week 4? 5 was crafting our personal mission statement. What is it about us of what we feel our mission statement is going to be in life? Some of our goals. We wrote a simple, usable mission statement in week 5 in here. That was going to help us propel what we want to become. And then week 6, we did intentional goals from purpose to practice, how we were going to put those goals into action. And we're still here. We're still here, even skipping over a couple of weeks from week 5 on putting goals into action, because we're at week 8 of 12, which are small things, little bits of things that we're going to change to find our Goldilocks area. And you want your goals to flow from purpose to practice in life. Week 7, we talked about time, energy, and attention. Where you're spending time, that's where you're spending your energy, and what are you focusing on? What you're focusing on, and hopefully it's not something that overwhelms you. And if it is, this is a habit, a system, and a routine. If you have problems in life, set aside time to deal with them. You don't have to deal with everything right now. You don't want things that are going to interrupt. And like I said, we're getting into that next week, distractions. Time, energy, and attention was our week 7. And then finally, that takes us right here, week number 8. So week number 8, we're basically talking about structures that support who we are. And where we're going to find these structures. These structures are journaling and thinking to where you are, where you feel like more like yourself. Habits that make you feel like you belong there. Actions that make you feel good about yourself, not pleasing others, not doing it for somebody, but things, actions, in time and places that align with your goals that make you feel good about your life, where you don't think about the past, you're not worried about the future, you're just in the present moment, to where you hear the rain outside, to where where you smell an aroma of the coffee brewing in the morning, where you drink your coffee and you actually enjoy it instead of swallowing a bunch of worries about today. See, we're constantly scanning our environment as humans. We're constantly scanning. And what we're looking for mainly is, are we safe? That goes back millions of years in our DNA. We're constantly, are we safe? Are we worried? And we're always thinking about the worst things that happen. And we live in times, and not just these times, there's always been times where things may seem unsteady in the world and in our environments. And things are going to happen, and they always have. But you're here because you've survived all that, and you're going to continue to survive all that. So take some of that energy and your worry and apply that toward healthy habits and structures in your life. Here's something you can do when you wake up. I've got absolutely nothing to worry about today. Put your hands in God. You put your hands into the belief of yourself. But you want one clear version of yourself that you can trust. And it may be the journaling side of you that you can trust. Today's about making the person you want to be inevitable by designing systems and not depending on motivation. And how we go about doing that is just simply writing one sentence. What can I change that's better? Have you ever had a time where you forgot all of your worries and you were somewhere and you just had not a worry in the world, and you had some laughter and some giggly feelings, and you were these lives can be made. Those things can be found. And you can shape that into a daily routine into your life, to where your life's not about work, where it's not about responsibilities, where it's more about being kind to yourself, forgiving other people, forgiving yourself, and looking forward to the future that you're going to build day by day with just little steps, little things is what builds it. A tall building is still made with the same size bricks as a small building. It's just more time and effort to lay each brick and build every floor. And there's effort put into that. But when they're building big buildings like that and putting time and effort into it, there's also a plan. There's also a blueprint for that. And when you're journaling and you're taking the time to apply effort and intention into, how do I want to feel? Do I have time for myself tomorrow? When you're taking the time to do that and you're blueprinting just your days and your hours and your time, over time, you're going to get more engaged in your life automatically through new habit. And when you're engaged in your life, time's not going to go as quickly. It's going to help you think and consider. It's going to put your reasoning ahead of emotions, and you're going to realize that you are all you need. So all that can't be taught up into 12 weeks or into an hour talk or anything, but it can be brought up often in your own mind. What can I do in the next hour that I wouldn't want to do? Last night, if you felt like doing something did you do it because you enjoyed it, or did you do it because this is your routine, or did you have to go do something for somebody else? Excuse me. So we want to think about that, where we're spending our time and our energy, and is it keeping us from what we want, in our life? So what I want are your goals, and with direction. Your goals are going to give you direction, your system on how to process an identity. So your routines are going to be the outcome. Your daily routine is going to be the outcome of tomorrow, next week, every day. This word right here is powerful, because a routine, to get into a routine, becomes habitual. So you don't need to be motivated, but you have to be structured. That's the thing. You can't say, I'm lazy, I can't get this done, I'm not motivated. Routines. When you're in routines, it's something that you need. When you have a routine of that you're choosing on purpose and intentionally, then you don't want too much or too little of it. But there's going to be times where you're going to fit that routine into your life. Because if you remember when we talked about time and energy and purpose, we let a lot of time slip through our fingers where we tell ourselves, if I just had the time. Well, we have more time than we realize we do. We really do. We have way more time than we have. It's just what we're doing with it. We can't just let it burn off. You know, you're not going to build a fire for heat in the summer. So there's certain days and times and places where we're going to use and apply our energy for the purpose of a clear life, of a life of abundance. And when I say a life of abundance, I don't talk about material things. I'm talking about a life of living, not what you should do, but what you want to do. Not what you should think, but how you want to think and how you want to structure your life and how you want your days to be. And that's important because it is your life. You come in here alone and you're leaving alone. There's no doubt about that. So, you know what? Having your mission statement and some of the things that we had previously to write up about what routines and structures are in my life that I could do without. And who put them there? Whose routines are these? You've heard about family tradition, and sometimes we have traditions of ourselves. As we get older, some of those traditions have to change. So let's shape up today and think it's like think that of what we have too much of. And when I say too much of something, worry, maybe too much of the wrong foods, maybe too much of doing favors for other people, too much of things that are draining you, and not enough of something would be self-respect, possibly giving yourself credit for being a great person that you are, or realizing that you're a good person. And you need to like yourself, and you want your days when you're sitting in quiet to be comfortable with them, and you want to journal. What's happened's happened. You want to journal about little changes that you might want to make. And you know, I want that same thing for my life. And you know, a good journaling prompt would be, what do you think would be a good life? What is it about that answer when you write that down would make it a good life? A good life would be maybe to be at peace. A good life would be to connect it with your environment, to have understanding for yourself. And if your life, it's only you. So do you put in there that like world peace, things for others, that my kids are okay, this or that? What are you putting ahead of yourself? That could tell you a lot about yourself. And what works and what doesn't work. When you have tried things or your goals so big that they just weren't unattainable. And that's what happens with a lot of people. They make this big goal and this big change, and it's just so big that it demotivates them. But when you make big goals and something might be big, it's small steps to get there. Like, I would like to go walking more. You would start one week just a Tuesday and a Friday. The next week, maybe a Monday and a Wednesday. The next week, maybe 3 days. The week after, 4 days. You just don't go as a non-runner on a marathon. You build yourself up to engage to the point of where you want to be. So, you know, tiny actions that you take are what is going to put you where you're going to be tomorrow. What you're doing today is going right in tomorrow. We finish up where we left off when we get up. Tiny changes, tiny habits, systems, and routine. A new routine of waking up before you go to bed. I'm grateful for this. I'm looking forward to this today. 1 and 1. One thing you're looking forward to, one thing that you're grateful for. When you get home, what went right? Don't focus on the negative. Don't focus even on going back to fix anything. There's nothing that needs to be fixed from your past. Absolutely nothing. Going forward, you want to imagine a system and a routine that's going to bring back what you need in life. And I'm not talking about people or this or that. I'm talking about self-respect, self-reliance, and things that you could do, and you could even review weekly on a weekly basis. An environmental tweak in a way, if you will, because sometimes it might take out getting new friends, not hanging out with this person because that leads to that, or not looking at this type of material. So you need a new routine, and you need a routine that's going to be healthy for you, that's going to help create your systems and your habits and to support who you are. I need to change this in my life so I can have a new routine to do some things. And you know what you can do is you can have calendar events. Plan something out in your future that aligns with you in your journey of becoming who you are, of what your mission and what your purpose is. And focus on yourself. You know, we live in some hard times. There's a lot of bad politics and things going on right now, and it's bad. And we don't need politicians in our life in these what and governments and things like that are making people not like each other and stuff. What we need in life is less divisive rhetoric. We need empathy toward others and the understanding of other people's perspective. And once we do that and you release any grub in you, you can move forward in a happy life. You can't do one without the other. You got to forgive and forget everything and move on. If you are carrying a fucking grudge, it's you know, that's on you. The people you're grudging at, they don't even know. Believe me, they're still happy. You know, you want to be your own poet. And you want to shape into something that when you think about what you want of clarity, and you can't go into this without clarity of what you want to change. Forgive yourself, ask to be forgiven about anything. And when I talk about that, I'm not thinking that I'm talking to a bunch of people that did anything wrong, but we're all human. One thing we will not get is a perfect life. But one thing that we can get is control of the perfection that we're creating. And you're only going to get that perfection through new habits, new systems, new routines, and structures that support who you want to become, right? If you want to become healthy, then you would have to have structures on that. You're not going to go right down to Burger King and order a double fry and 2 Cokes if you want to start getting healthy, are you? Or you're going to go somewhere else and eat chicken or salmon. So these are choices, and that's our body choices. Now, when it comes to our mind, what are you going to put in there? A lot of worry, hate, destruction, judgment of others? No. You're going to release all of that and you're going to bring in empathy and care for yourself. Because when you're applying a lot of that good in you, to you, it does not work if you hate other people. It doesn't. The universe isn't going to give you tiddly squat if you judge and you hate and misunderstand other people. It's not. It's not what it's about. The universe doesn't like greed. The universe is going to give you emotions that are uncontrollable if you apply hate and judgment toward others. And becomes a routine. It's not good. What you want are habits and systems and routines that support. You know, if you don't understand something and you don't like it, try to understand it. Try to come up with a perspective where you can accept things. If you have somebody that you can't stand and you talk about them all the time, now you're putting that in your life. What you want to happen to them is going to start happening to you. And, you know, this isn't voodoo magic or anything. It's just how the universe works. What you're looking for is looking for you. It is. And that's how things come together. That's how we even just shaped from the very beginning of time. There you go, farm girl. It's called karma. And karma exists. And sometimes we are other people's karma. Don't forget that. And the habits that you want to create are habits that are triggered automatically. That's where systems and routines help out. So let's say there's a habit you don't have of, I want to walk every morning for 10 to 15 minutes. And if you get up and you do that, and you do that, you do that, you do that, in about 2 weeks, maybe 3 to 5 weeks, depending, you won't be able to start your day without it. And that's called a routine and a habit. And if you listen to something good while you're walking, that lifts your spirit up. It could be classical music, your favorite rock song or anything. That can set your day and you be grounded because you've taken control and you've created that moment. And that's a structure. When everybody who's working for me today is structured with a routine this morning, they got a sheet of paper, their plans, everything to do that they're going to go build. Now, when you get off work, you should have a sheet and a plan too, to continue to build yourself to bring in tomorrow. And guess what? When they don't finish today, they pick up right where they left off. So what they're doing is building on a daily basis. And every day, a little bit of something gets done, no matter how big the job is. We don't say, hey, we're putting a huge building right here. We're redoing this 90,000 square foot space. This is what it's going to be. We're going to go in there and we're going to, in order, do different things. Just like this series, in order, of autopilot, of identity, of goals, of this or that. Every week we go into something new. And next week we're going to go into where routines and habits. We're going to go into boundaries, people, environments. You know why that's important? Because once you start doing all of this, of what you want, and you make your plans and you journal, guess what? The distractors show up. That's right. They're going to fuck up your purpose, and you need to learn how to protect yourself from that. And that's what a boundary is. That's what a boundary is. The boundary is having a long driveway, and at the very end of it, at the road, a gate where people just can't whip right up in there. That's a boundary. A boundary is protecting your purpose, your peace, and your life from distractors, from people that want to come suck your energy suckers. And too much of them in your life, just mine as well. You're going to choose a Goldilocks zone in your life that's going to make you better, and your life's going to be intentional. That's what we want to work on. And you need to be emotionally engaged and aware that if anything in your life matters, it's you. Be emotionally engaged with yourself. How does this help me? What is this going to do for me? How can I apply the better part of me for this? How can I get rid of some of the emotional feelings I have toward my past? How do I get over how I feel about my parent? How come my grandchild doesn't talk to me? These are all things that we're not going to go back and fix, but these are all things that we're going to journal and we're going to figure out. Become one way to have systems and routines. You got to let things go. You got to. The only way that you're going to be happy is to let things go, let people be. You can't tie up people and keep them around in your life, good and in a bad way. You have to release. You have to let go. If you love yourself, you have to forgive yourself and make the right choices in your life to not carry grudge, to not carry hate, to not agree with a lot of the news and the bad in the world. You know, there's some stuff going on where now people hate people over that. And this is a government thing. That's beyond our control. You should love your neighbor. And when you love your neighbor and when you have love for yourself first and love people, life becomes clear. You understand that we exist because of love. We're not some casual, meaningless part of evolution that just popped out of nowhere. That didn't happen. I don't care what science says. We're created by love and a thought and something that happened. And you'll see it. You'll see it. First, you had to see it in yourself. And when you see the love in yourself, then you can see, good morning, Mary, then you can see the love in what's around you. And that's when you notice what's going on around you, the changes that are made, who comes by, who's in your life, the problems that you don't have anymore, the time you're taking to journal, more clarity, taking the tiny steps to change. What one thing can you do today that's simple and easy that would make your life better? What creative way can you come up with? Who supports you and who uses you? Yeah, these are little things. And when we're trying to make our changes, we don't want our energy to be given away to somebody else, our pride to be given away for somebody else, or to think about some things that you think need to be repaired that just don't need to be repaired. Sometimes we got to let things go. Remember earlier, I told you we're always scanning. We're always looking for the worst. And that's just how we are. We're scanning for danger. We're scanning for what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, you know, what's going on now? That takes you away from being grounded. That takes you away from being mindful into the present, enjoying your coffee, enjoying this, enjoying music, enjoying your book. You have to harvest what your goals are. That's exactly right. And when you were talking about that, that's a good point, Mary. Thank you. I'm going to pin that up there. I'm glad you're in here. So you have to harvest that. And the little actions that we're doing in the system and routines is like tending to a garden. And that's what life is like. And your seed that you plant, the outcome is going to be how you treat it. What thoughts would be the third fertilizer? What emotions are going to be the water and the moisture for that? So the outcome is going to be your effort. That's what we all try to work on. And the outcome is going to be the effort. So a simple structure that you can follow when you do that, when you hear habits and routine, you know, what's the first word that you feel? Does that sound like a lot of work? Because sometimes we put goals and plans together, but they're so overwhelming that we just don't know where to start, right? A good way is we can think about goals as outcomes. These are when we're talking about a goal. Thank you so much for that compliment. I appreciate you. When we talk about goals, we would have processes into a goal. So let's just do a small, quick lesson on what one of the things that we would do. Thank you so much, everybody. The outcome of the goal. So you want to run a 5K, right? And this is a goal that you have: lose 10 pounds, write a book, and save $50,000. That's a lot of goals right there. Well, the first thing you're going to do is now you're going to need systems and habits and processes to get there, which will run 10 minutes 3 times a week, write 15 minutes each morning, and transfer $20 every day into your bank. That would be a habit, system, and a routine. Now, those goals can come to light, but this is the work it puts into it. It's more work if you don't do what's hard, but it's more work to change what's hard, but it's less work to not do. Choose your hard is what I'm saying. So you have the outcomes, which are your goals to run the processes, and the identity. The identity is who you're becoming while you're doing that. You're becoming someone who chases their goals and their dreams, which means your focus has to be where? Has to be on you. It has to be. So now you're a runner, you're a writer, and you're someone who takes care of your money, because eventually that becomes habitual, and it's now a system and a routine. If you write every once in a while over the next month or two, you're somebody that likes to write and scribble. If you write every day for a year or two, now you're a writer. If you have a wood shop in your backyard and you dinker with it 10 to 15 times a year, you're a hobbyist. But if you go out there every day for 8 hours for a couple of years, you'll be a craftsman. And that is the difference. It's the time that you're applying to your new skill of habits, system, and routines. Just as simple as I explained right there. Somebody wanted to run a 5K, lose 10 pounds, write a book, and save all that money. So their process, their system and habits are to run 10 minutes 3 times a week, write 15 minutes each morning, and transfer so much money. How they're going to transfer the money, where they're going to make the time. They're going to do a lot of things. You're going to totally invest in yourselves. Routine can save sanity, is honestly, Mary, it really does. And routines that are positive and new habits that are positive and little things, you can celebrate because you see little results, you know, just as you watch a child grow. Anybody who's had kids know that that kid is 100% on its own when it's, depending on us, when it's born. And in 2 years it talks and walks and this and that. These are little steps. Nobody is born and all of a sudden can talk, think, and do everything. This is how new habits are. They're brought in little steps, little bits of development, little bits of memory and routine in our head that helps it become a system and a routine. So that's what makes you become who you are. The goal that I was just talking about is somebody wants to run something and they want to run a 5K, they're going to train to that every day. They're going to put their routine, they're going to put it into action, and they may become and you want it to become automatic. Mental energy that becomes automatic. Routines, that would keep you, now autopilot from intentional routines are okay. What we're talking about also is looking at the things that we tolerate in life. We intentionally ignore some things where we unintentionally just put up and tolerate things. These are some of the things that we want to change, and we want to engage in everything. And just like Mary's saying right here, you know, she needed to harvest her energy to have automatic time for her kids without being overwhelmed. And what a thought process that is. And now when you do that and you put it in, you know what you got to do time, to have breakfast time, to have play time, to be with them. And that's a great goal to have. And it's work. It's work. Sometimes we feel it's too easy to just not have this habit, to not have this responsibility, but you get enjoyment. And you know, when you're not with family, not with loved ones, and we're not working on ourselves, we're just throwing time out the window. We're wasting away things, and it is true. And you have energy, and you're always going to find a way. I know that parenthood's stressful, so a little short practice that we can take is to give you a couple of examples of why a system is stronger than just being disciplined. Systems that we put into our lives that are small are better than motivation or willpower. You have to have structure in a system. It has to be written down. So make a good habit easier, and the bad habits harder. Put your workout clothes next to your bed. That's something that this is about, working out. Put your book on your pillow so you have to touch it before you sleep. And that's one of the good things for journalers is, you know, when you make your bed in the morning, you can put your journal on your pillow if you want to, or something to remind yourself, maybe a sign. Don't forget to think of what you're grateful for before you go to bed. Keep water bottle at your desk. Remove apps from your home screen message and put things, reminders on it instead. If your environment is designed for your old self, and that's who designed your environment right now, you're never going to get to your Goldilocks zone right here. So that's where we want to change our environment of what it is. Last week, we had a cool little idea that at our front door, we had a stop sign that on the way out that said, stop, and whatever message you want. Don't forget to look forward to something today. Don't wake up with dread. If you're dreading something, stop going there, or find something in it. And if it's something that where you have to go, then find something about it that you like it. Your old self will not go away unless you start changing the way your old self has you arranged, from your phone to your tablet to where you put things, to who you hang out with, to how you talk. Your old self is sloppy. Mine was. I don't know about you. I'm just saying, if you're here to talk about change and have habits, systems, and routines, we have to undo our old self. So If your environment's designed in your head and your thoughts are all about your old self, then your new self can't come in. It's time to change it around. Praying's the most powerful thing that you can do. Having a personal relationship with your maker. And that's I like that. And I don't unlock my phone till I pray. So this is setting aside time. And Mary, that's what we're talking about next week. This week we're on the habit system and routine. Next week's about protecting our purpose and what we want to become, to be in the right direction from distractions. Phones are distractions. Think of why you can't do something, and there's some type of person, place, or thing that's distracting you from doing it. You want to open up some new framework and demo, your old self in your head. And as I talked about earlier, being week 8 of 12, the habit systems and routine, it starts with journaling. Anything that's planned, built, made, or anything is written down, it's blueprinted. We didn't just say, hey, we're going to go to the moon and just started building rockets. Well, we wrote it down, we did it, we tested, timed, and trialed, and we failed. Failure is good because failure is something that we can learn from. So when we're building ourselves and we're finding that, this isn't right for me, you'll recognize what's right for you when you intentionally start giving yourself clarity. After dinner, before breakfast, during the day at work, your breaks, you'll start having moments of clarity. If you had a goal of when I blank, I would like to start doing this. Get up and walk every 10 minutes, whatever. Just journaling prompts. That's where it's all at. And if you have a good habit that you'd like to adopt, you're going to make it easier by putting that habit right in front of you. If it's to eat healthy, then you would want to go to the market on a daily basis and get just for that day. You're not going to go buy a week worth of food. You're just going to go out of your way to get it just for that day. So I want to eat healthy. I'm going to go get a chopped salad, a piece of chicken, a piece of salmon for today. You're not going to go out with a grocery list of healthy stuff. You're going to manage your changes slowly. If your goal is I want to have the nicest garden in my neighborhood, well, you're going to take one little area of your house and you're going to fix it up and put a nice planter there. And then again next year, and take care of it this year. You can't start big. You have to first be able to take care of something that's manageable. And if you try to change your whole life at one time, that's not manageable. That's actually probably impossible. So we want to pick what we want to change. And we want to start with small little steps. If you had to eat a whole elephant, you would eat it a bite at a time or so much time. So look at our goals. Are they realistic? Yes. But what might not be realistic is the way we're going about them and the way we want to attain them. So small habits, routine and structures, environments and friends all come to play. And your thought comes to play. So a simple structure that you can do is share a personal story with yourself of something that you've always wanted to happen for yourself that never became true. And try to decipher why that didn't happen just as a personal little journal. And you're going to see environment and reasons, and nothing's going to be your fault. But to stay hopeful in life, we can't repeat what's not working. But somehow we go on autopilot and we are doing things that don't work that keep us there without even realizing it. So it's not your fault. Isn't that great? Because just as we all are as humans, once we're aware of a lot of the things that we're not aware of, kind of like when I talked that we all tolerate things and we don't even know that we're tolerating them. We become so complacent and so blind to some of the things that drag us down, especially some of our thoughts. And that's where everything's rooted. It's right here. It's your thoughts. That's where it is. So you can build your whole life around yourself. And three big ways to do that is to add structure, to add systems, and to add routines. That's it. That's all you have to do. Habits, systems, routines, structures that support who you want to be. That's how easy it is. Doesn't that sound easy? So think, what around my house is the old me? What do I want to change? Where do I start? Well, you start with what's most important to you. When we talked over the last couple of weeks, what are your values? Remember all the weeks before leading us today? What are your values? What's important to you? When if you had to grab something out of your house so it doesn't get damaged, what would be the first thing you go for? Mine would be my pets. But what it is, and that can tell you something about yourself. Some people would be the pizza out of the freezer. So you want to be someone that honors your mind every day and stay focused and realize that your number one worker and workforce is you. That is right. You are your whole army, and you're going to rely on yourself. The energy and time is important, and sleep's important. And Mary, I know you have a lot going on, and being a mom and a lot of different things. Applying time and energy. When we were talking about time and energy, we feel that time slips through our fingers, but it really doesn't. We have more time than we know. Setting sleep schedules, this and that. It's hard to do, but only you know your schedule and how you can do things. And I'll tell you what's important is rest and realizing that it's important. And what systems and habits and routines can we have to make sure that we get our 8 hours of shut eye? I get to nap every afternoon, which is one of my favorite parts of the day. So a good thing to do is to write some scripts of yourself. If I had it my way and nobody was around, how would my life be? If I didn't have to worry about people said, how would my life be? And then examine it. The routine of sleep is perfect. You have to have a routine of sleep. Not as much scroll time, and sleep is important because sleep is resetting you. That's unplugging. It's different. Like our cell phones, when it's out of energy, we plug them into energy. When we're out of energy, we unplug ourselves. We have the disconnect. A good sleep and a disconnection from everything that's going on is power. And realizing that having your phone off, having a TV off, and writing and reading is also power. It's a good way to reset. Breathe deep and take it easy. Look out a window, listen to the rain, and be in your environment. When you got one foot in the future and one in the past, you're pissing on the present. And you need to stay grounded right where you are. That's really important to do that. And make your intentions automatic through your routines. Those are the simple things that we want to do. And, some people might say it's not that simple. It is when you realize it, when you tell yourself, I can do this, starting out with just being grateful and realize that you do have the time to do this. You've got the time to do this. I'm really excited about not just today and finishing out this 12 weeks, but I'm really excited for those that have been with us when we talk about next week, because I'm going to help set some healthy boundaries. And we're going to get right into that. When people are like, it's hard to do this or it's stressful to do that. Next week, when we're talking about boundaries, people and environments, you have to protect your purpose and you have to protect what you need from distractions. And it can be from kids, pets, people, neighbors, noise, environments. We have to protect ourselves from distractions. So when we are building our life, our habit system and routines, we need to be in an environment that's giving us rest, it's giving us peace, it's giving us tranquility, and it's helping us with our purpose, with clarity. When you make a plan and you're putting in habits, you have to be in an environment that supports that, especially in a mental environment is where you want to be. If you get scared because of the news and everything that's going on, don't live the news, live your life. Good morning, boy. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're staying busy, my friend. Make your daily news about you instead of what's going on. Don't be scared. You have nothing to fear in life. Don't let fear paralyze you from doing something. Don't let fear paralyze you from making a future or the self that you want to be. And especially don't let, I'm doing good, man. And don't let things that you believe about yourself that aren't true. Think about that. Has anybody here ever thought things about themselves for a long time that just aren't true? Like about your abilities or this or that? It's not. Don't let other people write your story. Write your story from right here forward, going forward. Make a window of time to write down your true, authentic self as somebody that's strong, that has courage, that wants to make a difference in your life, which is your life, not for others, for you. So this is the formula right here. A week ago, we talked about a recipe. You need empathy. You need kindness. You need gratitude. All these little things to put into your life. Habits, systems, routines, and structure. You know, put yourself in just a mental boot camp every day and have a clear outcome. Give yourself a simple core message that I will every day start with 5 minutes of alone time without my phone. 5 minutes. Don't just get up, jump out of bed, rush in, get ready, go to work, run this wash cycle routine. Man, get up and take time for yourself. That's important. You're taking time for yourself. You don't need to please or put on a mask or a show for anybody because that gets tiring. Being our old selves and our unauthentic selves is tiring. It gets to the point where it's going to wear you down. You will not know who the fuck you're supposed to be. You will not know who you're supposed to be. To become your authentic self, you need to feed your desires and your time with positive structures and routines that support who you are. You know, I always knew I'd be really good at construction, and I made a mistake by starting with residential, working for people, only to be, as a nice guy, is the worst thing I ever did. Everybody ran you over. But I found that I belong here on the commercial side for companies that are looking for resources to do different things. And that was the hardest thing to do. It was really hard. And that's what I do. And it's still hard. It takes practice, system, routines, and structures to get our work, to keep my guys busy. That's not easy stuff. I have to intentionally go out and sell. We mess up, redo stuff, have things, but we don't want people to notice that. There's a lot of work behind what and who we want to be in life. It's not fucking automatic. Winning the lottery, if you think that'll help you, it'll probably wreck you. What you're gonna get in life and out of life is what you're gonna put into it. You're gonna reap what you sow, without a doubt. And but there's good days ahead of you if you allow it. You can be happy if you allow it. And you can stop worrying if you allow it. You can start putting habits, systems, and routines, little bitty baby steps in life if you allow it. That's all up to you. That's all up to you. And I tell you guys all the time, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. I'm someone that's going to journal and read. I read my son a little journal from the past the other day because I want him to have a little bit of insight on changes. We all need to make changes. We're going to be different. Our future is changing and evolving. There's more AI, there's more bad news, there's more politics in our life. Engage locally, right here. Engage locally. Engage with what's affecting you. And don't let people use you. And if you find that you're a people pleaser, start saying no. Full sentence. Start saying no. I'm not doing this anymore. And stop beating yourself up. There's nothing in your life, and I promise you, and there's not one of you that you need to go back and fix. Don't apologize to anybody and forgive everybody that's done you. You don't need to go back in life. You've already been down that road. You want to smile and have a good day today. Big deal. We've been talking for 8 weeks, right, guys? We've been talking about Farm Girl. You're right. No, and no explanation. No. You know what's funny? Wouldn't that be the cool habit and a system and routine for someone that said no? Because then people just wouldn't even bother asking you. It's kind of like the guy that owns a truck. Oh, can I buy? No. Hey, I just got a new couch. No. Hey, can you plow my driveway? No. It's just kind of funny. Mary, thank you. Um, I'm excited about next week on Tuesday. I'm going to jump into it. I said it a couple of times. Our theme is building structures that's going to support who we want to be. But we're going to be watching out for environments. We're going to protect that from distractions. And we're going to talk about setting healthy boundaries, how healthy they are. Yes, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And Farm Girl, to be honest with you, I put a lot of boundaries in my life since COVID, and they are so automatic right now. That's really neat. And it's helped me out a lot, especially mentally. It's protected my peace, and it's really protected me from, flipping out over things because I used to get upset easily. I would allow my emotions that first race every time, even if there's hurdles there. Now my laughter, my sense of humor is out more, and I feel better about myself. And just if anything happens in life, allow your reasoning to show up at first. Nothing has to be dealt with right now. Your reasoning, the good side of you, the good side of all of us. And the more you start living the good, authentic you, the more happiness you have. The more when you walk outside, you really like, oh, wow, the sunlight just hit me. I can feel it. The more you hear the rain outside, the more you see the birds chirp, the more you go out and feed birds, the more your dog hangs out with you. A lot of things happen when you focus on happiness. If you want to make a yes, and you trust yourself too. Good one, Alicia. The more you're going to trust yourself that you got this, that when somebody says or does anything that triggers you to realize, well, that's going to happen. And it doesn't have to be dealt with. And another thing, you don't need the last word. I'll tell you what, if you really want to be big in life, don't even worry about the last word. You don't need to make faces, do anything. You just don't have to have the last word. But you know what? Have the last word with yourself. Go ahead and journal today. Go ahead and research ways to live a good life. And if you want to love somebody, love yourself. And if you want to laugh and love yourself, then take the steps to look at your environment, look around you. Don't be bullied, especially by yourself. You'll find that sometimes we are our own biggest bully. And have a great weekend. I'm looking forward to Tuesday. We're going to be talking about boundaries and how to protect our habits, systems, and routines. If I can't do this because I'm stressed out from what? How do we do that? I can't do this because I don't have the time. What's taking up your time? We're going to do all that. You're so welcome, Farm Girl. I'm glad that you're here. I hope everybody has a really good weekend. Thanks for being here, and be careful this weekend. We're getting closer to spring. I hope everybody enjoys their day.